Hi guys, how are you doing tonight? How's everybody doing? If you guys are joining us on YouTube, there's a chat over on the right side of your screen if you're on a computer. And I'd love it if you share your name and where you're from. Let us know who's here tonight. And we're gonna wait just a couple minutes to see if anybody else is joining, and then we'll get started. So I'm going to be sharing a few tips that are the best tips that I've come across in the past few years. I've been going through my entire house and decluttering it and getting it to the point that I've always wanted to be at. And these are the 3 best tips that helped me change my mindset to do the work of decluttering. I found that after I was able to change my mindset, a lot of the work went a lot more quickly and it just got a lot easier. So that's why I want to share these tips with you up front. If you can change your mindset, you can declutter your house and hopefully it won't feel like as much work for you. So, hi Mel from Delaware. I'm just giving it another minute or so to see if anybody else is going to pop on, and then we'll get started. If you guys want in the chat also, you can share what you're hoping to accomplish, if you're working on decluttering your house right now, or if there's a big challenge that you're facing right now with decluttering. What exactly are you guys working on right now? I'd love to hear it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. There we go. Okay, so like I said before, tonight we're talking about 3 ways to change your mindset and conquer clutter with kids, because we all know that it can be very difficult to find the time to get through your things when you have kids, and you also just have so much more stuff to deal with. And so when I started seriously working on decluttering my house, I was reading about minimalism. I was really wanting to do this, but everything that I was reading for a while was either written by people that were single or people that didn't have any kids and they didn't have a family. And I thought, okay, but how do I do this with kids? How do I do this when I've got stuff that I need for my children? I've got 5 people's stuff in one small house, and I can't make them go through their stuff. So how do I get them on board with what I want for our house? Like, how do we put a vision out there and get everybody on the same page? So that's something that I really struggled with, and I wanted to share a few things with you tonight. So my name is Beth Schmeisl, and I'm so glad you're here. I run the blog Natural Mama Cafe, and I write about simplifying and living a more natural life. Recently, I went through a series where, like I said, we've been decluttering our house for a few years now, but I took about 10 weeks and I went through my whole entire house again. And I decided this time I was going to get it to the point where I just always wanted it to be at. I was going to get rid of everything that I didn't need, and I was going to let go of the things I had been holding on to. So I did a series where I went through my entire house and I gave tips that I came across for each different room of the house. And I got to start hearing from readers and people who were seeing their homes and their lives transformed by decluttering. And I just love that. I love seeing how people's lives can be changed just by reducing the amount of things that they have. And I've gotten to work with a few people a little more one-on-one recently, and that's been really fun too. So I just really want to share my tips and help as many people with that as I can. And the adventure begins because I want you guys to know that if you're setting out to declutter your house right now, it really is an adventure. It's not just work that you have to do, because decluttering your house is going to allow you freedom and allow you to do things that you've always wanted to do with your life. We're going to talk more about that, but when we focus on where this can take us, it's a little bit easier to get through the work of it. So before I share my 3 tips with you tonight, I wanted to share with you the effects of clutter because it might be more damaging than you think. So 300,000 is a big number, and that's the average number of items in the average American home, according to the LA Times. And I was kind of floored by this number when I first heard it. That is a lot of items, but it's no wonder that we're stressed out when we think about going through all our things, and we're stressed out just dealing with things every day. We have really way more than we need. And those 300,000 items cause more than just a messy home. They also cause waste because there's no way that we need all 300,000 of those items. And a statistic I found is the average American home, or the average American throws out 65 pounds of clothing per year, according to the Huffington Post. And the average 10-year-old owns 238 toys, but actually only plays with 12 of them, according to the Telegraph. Another thing that those 300,000 items can cause is decision fatigue. Clutter can stress us out, it hinders our productivity, and it uses up our brain resources. So when we come across something that's actually a problem in our life, we have about 0 energy left to deal with it sometimes because we've spent all day already dealing with our stuff and making decisions about what to do with our stuff, what to wear, and just how to find the things that we need to find in our homes. And that quote was from Psychology Today. And the 300,000 items in our house can also cause overstimulation, which can affect both adults and children. In kids, it can make existing mental conditions much worse, and it can even cause PTSD-like symptoms. And that's something Kim John Payne found in his studies, and he wrote about in Simplicity Parenting. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. That's actually the first book I read that started leading me to want to simplify my life and on a path toward minimalism. I started out really wanting to simplify things for my kids, and then that carried over into my own life. And here's a quote from Dr. Sherry Borg-Carter. She said, "Messy homes and workspaces leave us feeling anxious, helpless, and overwhelmed. Yet rarely is clutter recognized as a significant source of stress in our lives." So there are a lot of things that could happen that we recognize as stressful. You could get in a car accident, you could have a major life crisis. And a lot of times people are going to reach out and see what they can do to help out. But when we're just overwhelmed with clutter, it can be just as real and just as like anxiety inducing, but there aren't normally a lot of resources or a lot of people reaching out to say, what can I do to help? Okay, I want you to take a minute and think about it and think about the effects that clutter actually has on your life. Think about your vacuum cleaner right now and how much effort does it really take to get out your vacuum cleaner? And if you look in this closet, which is not my closet, but I'm not going to say whose closet it is because I don't want to get in trouble, but there is a vacuum cleaner in the back of this closet. And if we think about how much time it would take to get out that vacuum cleaner, it probably actually doesn't take that long. You pretty much have to move that green bin and then kind of shimmy back there and pull it out. Maybe it takes 30 seconds. But it feels overwhelming. When you open the closet and you see this, and you have to shimmy in there and drag the vacuum cleaner out, it feels overwhelming. And if your kids every meal are spilling food on the floor and you need to get out that vacuum and vacuum under the table, it might feel like such a chore that you don't want to do it. And we do this over and over and over and over again throughout our day because when our house is not in order, even small things that should be easy, we should be able to just pull our vacuum cleaner out and vacuum. When we have so much stuff and our house is out of order, it feels like everything is a chore. So no wonder we're stressed out when you multiply that by the 300,000 items that we own. Okay, it looks like someone's asking, Deja's asking, can you share the name of the book in the description later? Yes, I will put the book in the chat. It was Simplicity Parenting by Kim John Payne. Let's share that real quick. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. So there's the name of the book for you, Deja. Okay, I'm ready to share my 3 tips with you guys. So I hope this will help you change your mindset and be able to make a big change in your home and your life. So let's do this. Okay, my first tip for changing your mindset is get a clear vision. And this is really important to do first. We need to prioritize and start with the absolutes in our life. So that means starting with, think about your life and think about what things are necessary for you to do, but also what things are necessary for you to feel like a complete, healthy, whole person. So it's not necessarily just, oh, well, I need to go to work, I need to take care of my kids, I need to make dinner. Yes, those should be included, but also sometimes we need to partake in a hobby for a little bit just to get some downtime and de-stress, or we need to take some time for ourselves to just make ourselves a coffee or something. That's what I do a lot. But anyway, get a clear vision of what things are important in your life. What are the absolutes to make you function as a healthy, whole person? And if we can focus on those things, then a lot of times it's easier to cut out the things that are not necessities. So it's also important to think about what's important to your family and talk to your family. What things does your family love to do? And figuring out kind of a family vision and a family direction all together will make it easier to let go of the things that are not important to your family as well. So sometimes we're just hanging on to things because we think we might use them or we think we might need them. But if we actually take the time to define what our goals are and what's most important to us, then we might find that we don't need to hold on to all of those things. If you need a little bit more help with defining your own vision and your family vision and motivation, we do have a resource on our blog, and it's the Minimalism Motivation Workbook. That is a free download, so feel free to check it out. And the web address is right there on the page, but I'll share it in the chat too. And it's just a short workbook that helps you kind of define your own motivation and to be able to look at it when you're decluttering and remember why you're doing this and keep going. So remember, you want to talk with your family members. You want to start with the things that are necessary, and you also want to limit it to a reasonable number. So if you come up with 20 different things that are so important for you to be involved in every week, that might be too much. So this is a really good time to think about really what's most important and what's a reasonable number of things to be doing. And then the things that fall outside of that, you might be able to let them go, and you might be able to let go of all the material things required to do those as well. Okay, now that we've defined our vision, the second way to change our mindset is pick favorites and set limits. So we know with all of those 300,000 items in our house, we are not going to be able to keep all of it and make the changes that we want. So we're going to have to set some limits here. And I want you for a minute to turn things around from the way that a lot of us think about decluttering. So a lot of times we focus on, okay, I'm going to declutter, I'm going to get rid of some things. I'm going to get rid of one thing every day, or I'm going to get rid of 2 things every day. Or, you know, we wander around and we find 5 things like, okay, I really don't need this, I can get rid of it. And that's good, but it takes a long time to make progress that way. You may only come up with a few things at a time. But instead, if we flip it around and focus on picking your favorites and set limits, then we can make a much bigger difference in a much shorter amount of time. And let me give you an example. If I have a shelf where I want to keep all my books or a couple shelves, and we have room for our family to each pick 10 books, 10 favorite books, and they're all going to fit on these shelves nicely and neatly, then each member in my family can pick 10 books that they want to keep, and we put them all on the shelf, and then it's a lot easier to let the rest go. If we have our 10 favorite books, we might be okay with donating the rest or giving them away or going to the library and checking them out again if we ever want them again. So having kids choose favorites is a really great way to let them have input, but you can still set limits. And it's up to you in your own home what limits you want to set for your different categories of stuff. But here are a few ideas. You could limit mugs to the ones that fit on one certain shelf. You could keep only the blocks that fit in a basket and get rid of all the other blocks. You could allow your kids to have one pillow and 3 stuffed animals on the bed, and they get to pick their favorites. Or you could keep only the books that fit on one shelf. And then this last one is something that we actually do in our play area. We have one of those cube organizers, you've probably seen them, and it has 8 cubes, 4 cubes across the top and 4 across the bottom. And we actually only keep 1 toy on each cube or a small basket of something like blocks or something like that. So we have 8 things out at a time. We also have a simple kitchen set in our play area and a simple dollhouse in our play area, and that's it. And it cuts down on the mess so much, and the kids don't get overwhelmed with putting their toys away. But that doesn't mean that's the only toys that we have. Something optional that you could also do is set up a toy library. And that means having a reasonable amount of toys somewhere else in the house that the kids don't get to all the time. And those are the toys that you use to rotate in. You can take some of the 8 toys out of the play area and put some new ones in occasionally, or let the kids pick new ones. Then it feels like they get new toys all over again to play with. And a note about toys while we're talking about that. When you're setting limits, you may want to choose open-ended toys. And the point is, open-ended toys can be played with imaginatively, and they have lots of different functions rather than just doing one thing. And the reason that you want to be really careful about this is if you're only going to have 8 toys out at a time, you want to make sure that it's something that your kids are going to use over and over in a bunch of different ways and not just get bored with immediately. So a tent that could be used as a cave, a house, a hiding place, or an igloo could be fun for the kids to play with day after day for years. They could have a blast with that even if they've done it 100 times before, as opposed to a puzzle, which kids would get really bored with if they're doing it every single day. Some more open-ended toy ideas and things for you to keep in mind when you're choosing favorites are blocks or other types of building materials, art and craft supplies, dolls and animal figures, simple dollhouses or play mats, and toys with no buttons or batteries. And there's a couple reasons. A lot of toys where you push a button, they're going to do the same thing over and over again. So kids are going to get bored. And also those toys can be very overstimulating. Another idea is simple cars and trains or fort building materials. And what kid wouldn't want to have a basket of blankets and ropes and things that they can use to build a fort? That's hours of fun by itself. All right, and we're on to our third tip. Now that we've gone through and set limits on our stuff, we don't want the clutter to come back, and we don't want that stuff spreading out and taking over our space. So it's time to redefine your space. And the way to keep things clutter-free that I found is just to set in your mind that living space is not storage space. Those two things need to be completely separate. So the best tip that I found for that is to reset each room each time you leave. And this was totally new for me because this is not something that I was in the habit of doing, especially with just having a busy schedule and a busy day. But the shared areas of our house are now living space rather than somewhere to leave stuff. So for adults, if you work on something or bring something into a room, you put it away afterwards. If you leave it, now all of a sudden that space has become a storage space for whatever you're working on. And then if you leave something else later, now it's a storage space for that too. And it's very easy for that to accumulate. So don't leave the room until papers, craft supplies, or other things are picked up. And that might sound a little bit overwhelming at first, especially if you've never done it that way. But if you come up with containers for each of the projects that you normally do, or some kind of system for easily putting those things away, then it becomes a lot easier. You can work on your project, you can put it in the container, you can put it away, and the next time you're ready to do it, you just pull it right back out and start again. It's really not as difficult as you think, or as difficult as I thought it was going to be once I got started. And the exception where you don't necessarily have to clean up right away is work that will be resumed immediately after an interruption. So if your kids need something and you have to go for a minute and take care of it, and you're going to come right back and work on it, then obviously you don't need to put it all away first. And it's also up to you to set the rules about what things are allowed to be left out and what things are not. Now, for kids following this rule, you may think that this is where the difficulty is going to come in, but let your kids know the rules. Are they allowed to bring toys, books, games, or projects into the main living area, or are they only allowed to have their toys in a certain part of the house? You can set limits like that to make it easier. But if they can bring their things into the living area, make sure they take things with them when they leave. So maybe 1 or 2 toys, and then when they're done, they take them back with them. Exceptions would be if you have a specific place in your house that they're allowed to leave a puzzle or project. If you have a project table, then maybe they can leave a puzzle out that they haven't had time to finish. And I know for our kids to get used to a new system like this may seem very difficult, and you may wonder if your kids can actually put everything back every time they use it. But if you go into a Montessori classroom, even a Montessori preschool, you'll see that the kids are getting out one toy, they're playing with it, and they're putting it back exactly where it goes. And there's like 30 children doing this. So it is possible. Another thing that you'll notice about these classrooms is they have very open shelving, and everything is confined to baskets, so they're very easy to take out and put back away. So you want to come up with a system in your home that makes toys very easy to put back. And I promise you, your kids can do this, even if it takes a little bit of effort. Okay, so to recap on the 3 tips today, we talked about how clutter is a big cause of waste, stress, and overstimulation. And to fight clutter and make it easier, the best way is to change your mindset. So first, we want to get a clear vision about what's important to us and what's important to our families. Next, we want to pick favorites and set limits, and that makes it easier to let the rest of the stuff go. And then we also want to redefine our space and relearn that rule. Living area is separate from storage area. So I hope these 3 tools can be helpful to you and help you start making a change for the better in the atmosphere of your home. And what are the next steps? Okay, so for some of you, after hearing these tips, that's all you really needed. Your house is in pretty good shape, and you just needed a few tips to help you finish with cleaning and keep things clutter-free. It will be easier to do that with those tips that you just learned, and I know you can do this. Now, for others of you, you might have a longer way to go. You might have a big project ahead of you. But if you implement those tips, you will see a big change and get some momentum going. And the next part is the critical part. Don't stop after you implement those tips. I want you to keep going in 2018. I want you to keep making changes and stay motivated until your house is exactly how you've always envisioned. And I know that's what you want to. So think about 2018 and think about what you want for a minute. What do you want your home to look like? What goals do you have? What do you want to achieve in 2018? Do you want to live with less stuff? We talked about how you can beat decision fatigue, reduce your stress level, and maybe even see changes in your child's behavior just by having less stuff. Would you like to have more time? Less stuff means less time looking for things, less time cleaning, and less time trying to organize. What would you spend the extra time on this year that you haven't been able to accomplish in the past? And do you want a transformed home? What do you want your home to look like? Starting with decluttering is a huge step toward creating the beautiful space that you want. It also takes a lot less work to design a beautiful room or a beautiful home when there's less stuff to distract you. All right, guys, if you're getting ready to go through your whole house and make a major change, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not going to be easy. It was not easy for me to go through my house because we had a lot of stuff and it took a lot of work and it took a long time. But I want to help you out with this, and maybe it won't take you as much time as it took me. What if I told you you can have your own private coach, plus a group of like-minded moms cheering you on the whole way? A coach can help you come up with a plan for the specific obstacles you are facing and the places where you get stuck, as well as the encouragement that you need to keep going. And having your own coach is easier and more affordable than you might think. So we're offering something that's brand new, and it's more than just coaching. We call it the 8-week decluttering intensive. And I want to invite you to be a part of this and transform your home in as little as a few hours a week. I want to give you 3 awesome ingredients to help you reach your goal. The first ingredient is a plan, which you would get in one-on-one coaching sessions, as well as looking through the materials and workbooks that are designed to help you create a plan. I want to give you positivity and encouragement in those coaching sessions, and also in a Facebook group that's going to be all positivity and all encouragement for the people that are participating in this challenge. And I also want to give you accountability with weekly check-ins and assignments that will keep you going even when you feel like giving up. Also, if you join this group, you'll know that we all understand what it's like to do this with kids, and we all know the difficulties that you are facing. If you join the 8-week decluttering intensive, here's what you get. You get 3 private coaching sessions where we create a plan to tackle your biggest obstacles, and that coaching alone is valued at $199. You also get access to a private Facebook support group where you'll get feedback and answers between sessions, and I'll actually be in there answering your questions if you have questions between the coaching sessions. Plus, group members can share photos and encouragement, and that support group is valued at $99. You'll also get weekly tips, motivation, and assignments to keep you going. It's actually a small mini course in itself that's valued at $49. So the total value of the decluttering intensive is $347. Right now, since this is the first time we've done this, we're offering the entire 8-week decluttering intensive for $197. But since you attended this webinar and you stayed to the end, we're going to give you a special discount that's only available through the webinar. If you enter the coupon code webinar40, you'll get $40 off the package. And that means you get the entire package valued at $347 and a total transformation of your home for just $157 for a limited time. And I'm putting in the chat right now the link if you want to learn more about the program. You can go to the link, and there's also the coupon code that I just mentioned there. Another option, okay, even $157 can be tough to come up with. I know that's a lot of money even for me. So we've decided to offer a payment plan. And if you click on that link there, you can go over to the site and see the payment plan. It's 3 payments of $75, and that covers the entire cost of the course, but you still get that $40 off, and you actually get it off of your first payment. So your first payment is only $35 to get started, which hopefully makes it affordable if this is something that you really want to do. Here's what our test group had to say. We ran a test group recently. We haven't done the entire 8-week intensive. Like I said, that's brand new and this is the first time. But we've done some test coaching sessions. And Stephanie was one of our participants. She says, Beth gave me the motivation to really declutter my house instead of just reorganizing my stuff. I started with my homeschool room and it made such a big difference for us to find things and to be able to use the room for school. I'm still working my way through the rest of the house, but I'm confident that it will get done easier now with what Beth has taught me about decluttering and the change in mindset that has been taking place. And I have to show you guys, this is Stephanie's homeschool room. And in the first picture, she had a lot of stuff, like most of us do. And I know my homeschool room looked probably worse than this the first time that I started going through it. But I love the picture on the right, and it just feels so open and airy and sunny, and it's just such a cool transformation to be able to see. Stormy was in our test group too, and Stormy said, Beth is amazing. She has a warm, welcoming approach and is really passionate at what she does. I love our video sessions. She has helped me work through some of my tougher issues and helped me refocus so I can get where I want to be. And I'm so happy that I was able to help Stormy with that and that she's seeing changes. Okay, so again, the entire 8-week decluttering intensive is currently $197, and you get a special discount for $40 off with the coupon code. That means you can transform your home and you don't have to do it by yourself for just $157 for a limited time. And you can start out right now with a payment of $35. If you go to that link I gave you and check out the payment plans, just scroll down toward the bottom and they're down there. So if anybody has any questions, I really hope that all of these tips were able to help you, and I hope that you're motivated to get going and start making a change in your house. If you have any questions about either the tips that I gave or anything about decluttering or the package that we just announced, you can feel free to ask those in the chat. And also, I'm available at beth@naturalmamacafe.com. You can email me anytime, and I'll email you back. Just so you know, the package that we're doing, it's going until December 30th at the latest. We do have a limited number of spots because it does involve private coaching. So unfortunately, I can't just take an unlimited number of people, but we'll be offering that until the spots fill up. I don't know how quickly they're going to fill up. I know that we're offering this webinar deal right now, so we may see them go kind of quickly. In the chat, it looks like Deja asked, here, let me switch over back to this so you can see my face. Sorry, one second. Okay. Hi, guys. Okay, so Deja said, when it comes to decluttering the kitchen, how do you determine what you really need to keep? I get tired of stuff falling out, but I eventually need it. Okay, so in the kitchen, the way that I've done it is I don't like to do dishes. I only like to do dishes, run my dishwasher once a day. So I figured out how many dishes do we need in order for us to get through the whole day without running the dishwasher. I don't run my dishwasher after every meal. And so that's what worked in our house. We put those aside, and if we have guests or company, we might need more dishes, and that just means I have to wash my dishes twice that day. So, so that's what worked for us. I mean, it's totally up to you to define your own limits and what works for your family, but having, you know, enough dishes for 3 meals also allowed for us, if we're gonna have company over, we just run the dishwasher and we have plenty of plates for everybody. So doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like 5 plates if you have 5 people in your family. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to email me, beth@naturalmamacafe.com, and I'll put that in the chat too. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this webinar. I know I had a lot of fun hanging out. You're welcome, Deja. Okay, so there's my email address. Feel free to email me, and actually in a little bit you'll get an email from me with the replay of this webinar in case you want to watch it again. All right, guys, thanks. I'll see you later.